Alright, so once again, we're not going with my usual video format where I am standing there talking to you, but again, this is another topic that I thought would be important to cover. This image is one that you may have seen plastered all over the internet. It's from 2011. And it's actually a pretty interesting story behind that. So I'm just going to read you a little summary of what happened back then. It was actually compiled by Christina Hansen, who's a carriage horse advocate and driver who's still in the industry. But she put this together from various articles on the internet. So October 23rd, 2011, Charlie, a 15-year-old Percheron gelding, suddenly collapsed and died on his way to work. Sudden death in horses, while infrequent, is not unusual. Any number of undetected cases can cause such deaths. Charlie's owner, stunned by the death of an outwardly happy and healthy horse who had only been in the city for 3 weeks, signed his remains over to the ASPCA for necropsy. Now I'm going to pause this here and remind you guys that our New York City horse carriage industry is overseen by multiple agencies, 5 agencies. One of those used to be the ASPCA. This was back when the ASPCA was still overseeing the agency. Since they used to be known as an animal welfare supporter and not an animal rights supporter, this wasn't a biased organization overseeing the industry, and this story is actually going to get into why they are no longer an agency that oversees the industry and why they now have this animal rights component over animal welfare to them. And I've discussed the difference between animal rights and animal welfare in other videos. So continuing right along with this timeline, last thing I said was that the horse's remains were signed over to the ASPCA for necropsy. So later that day, the ASPCA released a press statement assuring that the preliminary necropsy report from Cornell would be released within 36 hours. Although Cornell's preliminary necropsy was completed on time, the ASPCA did not release any findings. So that was on October 23rd, 2011. October 31st, 2011, Halloween. The ASPCA and NYCLASS virtually simultaneously released the preliminary necropsy results. In their press release, the ASPCA claimed the gross necropsy indicated that Charlie was not a healthy horse and was likely suffering from pain due to pronounced chronic ulcers of the stomach and a fractured tooth. The ASPCA attributed their interpretation of Cornell's report to their equine vet, Dr. Pamela Corey. That again was Halloween, October 2011. Then November 3rd, 2011, Dr. Corey issues a retraction and correction of her original statement about the preliminary necropsy report directly to the Department of Health. A correction she says the ASPCA withheld from the Department of Health. Dr. Corey's correction noted that there was no evidence of cruelty or neglect in the case of Charlie, and that clarification is necessary to point out the fact that though Charlie was a newly acquired horse, he had passed a veterinary exam and did not show any signs of ill health, and therefore was properly and legally working in his capacity as a carriage horse. And then the next day, November 4th, 2011, the ASPCA suspends Dr. Corey indefinitely without pay, punishing the whistleblower. November 11th, 2011, 11/11/11. Dr. Corey files a complaint against the ASPCA with the New York Attorney General's office. Dr. Corey gave an interview revealing that she was pushed to make the original statement and that the ASPCA put her in an unconscionable position. December 3rd, 2011. In an interview with the New York Post, a former ASPCA agent, Henry Ruiz, came forward with claims that the ASPCA was cutting ethical and legal corners in its attempt to abolish the city's horse carriage industry. It's like targeting. It's like racial profiling. The ex-agent claimed he was given quotas to find violations in the carriage industry. December 16, 2011, nearly 2 months after Charlie's death, the ASPCA issues a press release about the final necropsy report, saying that the cause of death was unknown. Pathologists noted that significant decomposition had taken place prior to the gross necropsy, and that what had been observed visually as gastritis or ulcers was likely an artifact of degradation of the stomach lining, as microscopic inspection showed no sign of ulcers. The ASPCA notes good nutritional condition, consistent with a healthy horse, who probably did not have ulcers after all. The ASPCA declares the case closed. The outcomes of this. In January 2012, Dr. Corey resigns from the ASPCA. She's later hired by the New York City Health Department as a veterinarian for carriage horses. In 2014, ASPCA ends enforcement of New York City animal welfare laws, hands the duties to the NYPD, who has the NYPD mounted unit. And yet, for years following Charlie's death, this was in 2011, death of the horse, we are now in 2025. Still, to this day, carriage opponents continue to call him a victim of abuse, despite his own veterinarian statement that the horse was healthy and the cause of death was unknown. I'd also like to read a New York Post article from back in 2011 about this, because I think that they also gave a good little mini summary. Everyone knows there's no sense in beating a dead horse, but the ASPCA just found a way to ride one. When a carriage horse named Charlie keeled over dead in Midtown last month, animal rights activists were all in a lather. Animal cruelty, they cried, harnessing the death as a pretext for a complete ban on Central Park carriage rides. We are very concerned that Charlie was forced to work in spite of painful maladies like stomach ulcers, noted the ASPCA's chief horse veterinarian Pamela Corey, which was an outright lie, as Corey honorably admitted in an apologetic correction letter she sent the health department, which promptly got her suspended without pay by the White Knights of the Pony Patrol. Charlie had only been getting rides in the city for about 20 days, and he collapsed in the morning before even starting his shift. Was he worked to death? Not a chance. Horses suffer heart attacks and strokes just like humans, and not much can be done about it. Again, Corey admitted the deception. There was no evidence of cruelty or neglect, she explained. I was under a lot of pressure during the writing of that press release. A lot of pressure to lie? Why? For one thing, the organization is increasingly with the "a rat is a pig is a boy's" school of animal rights activism, first articulated by the nutjobs at PETA, but increasingly a mainstream sensibility. For the short term, though, ASPCA will content itself with working to ban the carriage trade and apparently won't let the truth get in the way. So far, Mayor Bloomberg has refused to back a ban that would put hundreds of New Yorkers and their nags out of work. If anyone wants to destroy something as part of New York's heritage and that tourists loves, Bloomberg said, you should remind those people that we pay municipal employees with money pumped in by visitors who delight in carriage rides. Besides, thanks to City Council, carriage horses now get 5 weeks of vacation in the country every year, nearly as much as a city school teacher. And like just about everything else in the city, they're regulated by the health department. Venice has its gondolas, but New York has its carriage rides through Central Park. The city can't ditch the latter, even if the liars at the ASPCA don't particularly like it. Another New York Post article from 2011 that is on this topic that I think is important to get in here. An NYPD cop turned animal welfare agent is stepping forward to charge that the ASPCA is cutting ethical and legal corners in its attempt to abolish the city's horse carriage industry. It's like targeting. It's like racial profiling, Henry Rose said of the agency's efforts to uncover wrongdoing in the century-old industry. Rose said the ASPCA commissioned an independent study about 4 years ago that determined the horses were well cared for. He said the study was never released because it clashed with the ASPCA's agenda. The agency claimed no such study exists. In his 9 years with the ASPCA, Ruiz said he never witnessed cruelty involving a carriage horse, but he said that didn't stop the agency from routinely dispatching agents to patrol the horse line outside Central Park, especially around the Christmas holidays. You're supposed to give out at least 10 summonses that night, he recalled. You're basically targeting people to find something wrong that probably isn't there. In nearly 18 years at the NYPD, Rose worked undercover narcotics. He joined the ASPCA to root out abuses against animals in perilous settings such as puppy mills. Rose said he became disillusioned about the ASPCA's direction about a year ago and left. He said he's speaking out now to defend ASPCA vet Dr. Pamela Corey, who was suspended last month after trying to correct a press release declaring that a horse that died on a Midtown street was forced to work in spite of painful maladies and was likely suffering from pain. That fit with the ASPCA agenda. It just didn't fit with the facts. Preliminary findings by Cornell University's Animal Health Diagnostic Center reported that the horse named Charlie showed no signs of illness the morning died. And while there was evidence of gastritis and pancreatic problems, the significance of this is not clear. His integrity is beyond reproach, said Ruiz. She won't make up something that isn't there. Corey told DMV Magazine, which covers veterinarians, that even though wasn't enough information to pass judgment, the ASPCA pushed her for a statement, and she mistakenly signed off on it. When she tried to correct it, she got the boot. It's not a tenable working relationship, Corey told DMV, speaking of the ASPCA's dual role of trying to abolish the carriage industry and overseeing it. You want to do one thing or the other. You want to have objective facts or lobby government to change rules for animals. They don't understand what they've really made me do. ASPCA spokesperson Brett Hotman refuses to discuss Corey's status, but he insisted the agency can be an advocate and enforcer at the same time. Our goal is the well-being of horses, not simply the absence of cruelty, he said. And as we know, later, the ASPCA did stop regulating the carriage horse industry or overseeing and enforcing that regulation because this was a conflict of interest for them.